Welcome to tutorial number 4, in which we will be looking at vector-based spatial analysis. We have now distinguished between vector data and raster data in class. We will now start to look at different ways in which you can use vector data for analysis. I've loaded some data into ArcMap. This data is available in your tutorial 3 data folder. I'm just going to turn off a number of them. And let's start with two datasets, contour A and contour B. If we zoom in, you will see there's two datasets, each showing contours for an area, but you can see the two datasets are adjacent to one another. Although there are two separate datasets, they link up to one another. Alright, so one of the first things you would like to do in many cases with vector data is to merge your datasets. In this case, this is data for 1 to 50,000 map sheets, so you can see the squares there. Alright, so you've got data sets for two adjacent 1 to 50,000 map squares or quarter degree grids, and what you would like to do is you would like to merge these two data sets to create one contour dataset that you can use in your map. To do this, we're going to use a tool known as the merge tool. Alright, now if you go to your Arc toolbox, if it's not there, remember to activate it by clicking on Arc toolbox. If you go to Arc toolbox, we just minimize here. This is how it will look when you open it at first. You'll see you've got analysis tools and you've got data management tools. Alright, so these are the tools that we will be looking at now. For the first one, we're going to look at a tool called the merge tool. Now that's can be referred to as a data management tool. So you'll find it under data management tools, general, and there's a merge tool. Another way in which you can find or locate these tools is by using the search function. If you do not have your search function, you can also go to Windows and click on search, and this will activate your search window. If I go to the search window and I type in merge and enter, it automatically locates my merge tool. So these are the two ways in which you can locate the tools. When using the search function, you just need to know what you are searching for. So I'm going to open my merge tool. Now what's nice about all the tools is there's always a help text associated with the tool that informs you on how this tool works. For example, in the merge tool, it tells us that it combines multiple input datasets of the same data type into a single new output dataset. This tool can combine point, line, or polygon feature classes or tables. So we can see a raster data can't be used in this tool. Use the append tool to combine input datasets with an existing dataset. This is a different type of tool. If you want to just add data to an existing dataset, you're going to use the append tool. For the merge tool, we're going to create a new dataset. And as you click in the different boxes, it also tells you what's required. So for instance, input datasets, if I click there, it tells me the input datasets that will be merged together into a new output dataset. So that means, in this case, the two datasets that we would like to merge. In some cases, the help text won't be displayed. Just check that you click the show help button and it will be displayed. Alright, so to start this exercise, let's click on the drop down arrow and I'm going to select contour A, and I want to add to that, merge it with contour B. That's the two datasets that you see there, contour A and contour B, and those are the two that we would like to see merged. Then I need to tell the computer where it needs to save this new dataset. Alright, so this process is referred to as geoprocessing. So what's going to happen is the computer is going to use these two datasets, do calculations of them, analysis of them, whatever the case may be, in terms of the tool that you're using, and create a new layer. It's going to create a new shapefile or feature class. So I need to tell the computer where it needs to save it. So it's not going to change anything in contour A and contour B, the original datasets. It's going to create a result file, let's call it that. That will be the resultant of the merge between the two layers, contour A and contour B. So I need to tell the computer where it needs to save it. I'm just going to save it in my default ArcMap folder for now, and then I'm going to say OK. Just always be sure that you know where you're saving your newly created features. If you need to locate it, you need to know where you stored it. Alright, that's usually this mistake that students make. they don't know where they saved it. So make this a location that will be easy to find. Alright, I'm going to say OK. And there you can see it's processing, it's running the merge tool, it's busy merging these two data sets, and you can see automatically added to my table of contents now is a new layer called Contour A Merge. That's what I named it. So if I turn off the original two, I can see I now have one data set that shows all the contours for this whole area. So the two layers, Contour A and Contour B, have been merged to make this new dataset Contour A merge. Alright, so that's the merge tool, which you will use whenever you need to merge different datasets to create one layer. So that's a data management tool. The next tool that's also data management that we will have a look at is called Dissolve. Alright, so let's open vegetation here. I'm just going to zoom to it, right click on it, zoom to layer. Here we have a vegetation layer, for South Africa. Let's just open the attribute table. It's not for the whole of South Africa, it's only for a part of South Africa near the Kruger. And we can see there's different vegetation types here. Let's display it at this different vegetation types. I'm just going to open up the symbology quickly here. Categories, let's use the different types. Let's just use the names. Alright. Okay, so just so you can see, we've got different vegetation types mapped here. But let's say we're not interested in the different vegetation types. We're interested in, let's say, the conservation status of the different vegetation types. We don't want to see each and every different vegetation types. We only want to see which one of them are vulnerable and which are least threatened, etc. So we want to use the conservation status in an analysis, alright, not just to display it on a map, but to use it in an analysis later on. So what we can do is we can dissolve this data set so that we don't see all the different vegetation types and all their boundaries, but that we only see which ones are conserved, vulnerable, or threatened. For that we're going to use a tool known as the Dissolve tool. So this one, let's search for it using the search function. Dissolve. Alright, so it's a data management tool. Let's open Dissolve. Again, in the help file or in the help text, it tells us Dissolve aggregates features based on specific attributes. So you can see if you have inputs and you don't want to see those individual boundaries between these features, you can dissolve it to look something like this. So that's in essence what Dissolve does. So I'm going to say I want to use this vegetation as my input, and again I need to specify where it needs to store the dissolved output, the new file that will be created, and I'm going to say the field that needs to be used in the attribute table to do this dissolve is going to be the conservation status. Remember, we had a look at it, vulnerable, threatened, etc. So I'm going to use that field to do my dissolve, and I'm going to say OK, and again you can see it's processing, and you can see a new file has been added to ArcMap. Alright, so immediately you can see in terms of the features it looks different than the original one. Okay, there's less boundaries there. Alright, so if we go again to properties, symbology, and we're going to use this conservation status to map this, you can now see everything that's endangered has been made one feature, everything that's vulnerable has been made one feature, and everything that's least threatened is one feature with smaller features in between. But you can see it's been simplified from what we had there. Let's display the same data set, the original data set, also in terms of conservation status. Alright, and just to compare the two, can you see we don't need those boundaries, that's not applicable to what we're trying to display. So once dissolved, those boundaries disappear and we get a smoother surface, so it makes for better maps, nicer maps. So that's the dissolve function that you use if you want to simplify your data. And the final data management tool that I want to show you is called the Clip one, and this is most likely the one that you're going to be using the most. Alright, from all the the data sets that you, the tool, sorry, that you will be using. Clip is probably the one that you'll be using the most. So I've got a data set here for soil potential in the Northwest Province. But let's say we only want to create a map for the Clockwe local municipality. Alright, so let's make it a hollow. It stands out. Let's make it nice and thick. Alright, so that's our study area. We're only interested in the Clockwe local municipality. We don't want to use all this other data. We only want to use the data that falls within the Clockwe local municipality. So in order to get only the soil data for the Clockwe, we're going to use the clip tool. Now the clip tool is kind of like a cookie cutter. Okay, if you have the dough and you use this cookie cutter to cut out the individual cookies, that's basically what it does. So let's search for it. I'm gonna type clip, and it's more of an analysis tool, but it's also a data management tool. Probably depends on how you look at it. The other place where you can find it is under analysis extract. You'll see there's a clip tool. Alright, so let's open it. So again, it tells us clip extracts input features that overlay the clip features. So you've got input features and clip features. So you tell you input feature, that might be the soil in this case, and then you've got a clip feature, the Clockwe boundary, and it then only as an output generates everything in terms of the input feature that falls within the clip feature, and that's the new data set that's created. So it's a cookie cutter extracting only the data that you need based on the boundary that you give it. Okay, so in terms of the input then, the input will be the soil data, because that's the original data set that you want to clip. So I select soil potential, the clip feature, the features used to clip the input features. The feature used to clip the input feature. So that will be our Clockwe local municipality boundary, the one that's displayed in red on our map. Okay, so that will be the clip feature, and again I need to tell it where must it be saved and what's the name I want to give it. I'm just going to use the default for this exercise. I'm going to say OK, and again it starts processing, and a new layer is added to our map called soil potential clip. So if I now turn off the original soil potential, you can see a new data set was created, displaying only the soil data, soil potential data for the Clockwe local municipality, and that was what I was looking for. Alright, so that's the clip tool, and you will really be using the clip tool quite a lot, because I'll ask you to create maps, but the data must not go over the boundaries of the study area. So for instance, if I ask you to create a map for Clockwe local municipality, I don't want to see the soil potential crossing the boundaries, so you need to use the clip tool to extract only the data that falls within the boundaries of the Clockwe local municipality. So the clip tool is one that you're going to use quite a lot in most of your exercises. Alright, so there's a number of other tools as well. Select, split. I'm not going to go through all of them. You might want to use some of them later at some stage, maybe in your project, but the help files are really good, so you can have a look at all these tools. It explains exactly, for instance, this one takes an input data set and you give it zones in which the data set should be split, so it's like a clip tool but for multiple zones that you can do. So there's really a number of tools that you can have a look at if you just want to copy data set. If you want to add data to an existing data set, you can use Append. So you can have a look at all the different tools that as they update the software, they add new tools all the time. But these three that I showed you now, in terms of 312, this module will be the most important tools and the ones that you will be using most often.